Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Brand Bosses podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. Today, we have Ashley Skeie on the podcast. Ashley is the founder and creative force behind Ashley Skeie Events, a full service event planning, floral, and design company, which launched in 2014. With a degree in event management and a background in the hospitality industry, Ashley brings a unique blend of organizational expertise and adaptability to every event that she plans. Known for her motto, over prepare and go with the flow, Ashley combines meticulous preparation with a calm, flexible approach to ensure that every event runs smoothly and efficiently. Whether it's providing unwavering support, curating stunning floral arrangements, or designing unforgettable spaces, she is committed to making her clients feel valued and cared for on one of the most intimate days of their lives. For Ashley, there's nothing more rewarding than bringing a couple's vision to life and being part of their special day. Ashley has about 6,000 followers on Instagram and counting. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so you have quite the history, right? You have quite the business model. And so let's just go back to 2014. You launched Ashley Skeie Events. Tell me a little bit about what made you make that decision to launch and what did that look like for you?
So it's kind of a roundabout story of how I got into event planning in the first place. So I think that's a good place to start because this was not my original vision for my career. I had gone to college for interior design. At that time is when like a lot of those TLC shows were coming out about like redoing your home, and I loved watching it. I loved moving my bedroom around. So I'm like, that is what I'm going to do. So I moved myself down to Tennessee. I went to art school there. And on the very first day of class, my professor said, like, if all you want to do is just paint walls and move furniture, you don't need to be here. Um, and I was panicked because I'm like, well, that's what I want to do. And that's why I'm here. Um, and I didn't have a backup plan at that point. And their program was more architecture, like building buildings. And I definitely did not want to do that. Um, so then that first year, I just kind of went through the classes for interior design, which have now helped me in this business. But I really did not know what I was going to do. And then I'd say like last month or two of school, like that first year, I had met someone. I was just talking to her, like, why are you here? And she said that she was going to school for event planning. And it like struck me that I didn't even know you could do that for a job. Um, but growing up, I always planned my own parties and I would put together like proposals for my mom and be like, here's what I want to do and here's my menu. And everyone loved coming to my parties. So I'm like, I feel like I could do that. So I switched majors and then graduated. Uh, so consumer services is like the umbrella of the degree with the focus of event management. So I graduated and got a job right out of college doing venue managing, which I hated, to be honest with you. It was great because I got my feet into the wedding world, but it wasn't like the connection that I wanted with the clients. Like I was really just there to like turn the lights on and let people into the venue. I didn't get to like do any planning or form any relationship with them. So I ended up leaving that after about 3 years and got completely out of wedding world. I actually sold tractor parts for a little bit of time, um, which I knew nothing about, but I learned quickly. And then through that job, I actually ended up going out on the road and doing like some farm shows, which was fun. And so that I realized like the corporate world and like desk job is not for me, but I loved being on site and doing all the events and meeting people. Um, so while I was working at this tractor parts company, I got married and then got pregnant. And so while I was pregnant with my first son, Charlie, that's when like the desire kind of rose of like, okay, I want to have flexibility in my schedule. I want to be able to be home with Charlie, but I also really need the connection of humans and doing event planning. So I just kind of grew my business while I was pregnant with him. And I was terrified to launch this, like, come support my business. So through encouragement of others, they're like, you need to do this, you need to do this. So I like put it out on Instagram um, and got a handful of clients that first year and then just kind of built off of there. And then the flower side came later. So that again was not part of the plan. But in 2000, I think 17, I had a bride who was doing a very small wedding, just needed a bouquet, and she couldn't find anyone to make it for her because a lot of florists have minimums. So she's like, "Is there any way you could just like make me a bouquet?" And I'm like, "Well, I could probably figure that out." So I went to Market Flowers down at the Minneapolis Farmers Market and just like picked out things that I felt would look nice together. And I had a lot of fun doing it, like going back to the interior design side of things. Like I loved picking out the colors and the different like shapes and patterns of flowers and see how they all go together. And the bouquet turned out really good, which I was shocked. I'm like, this is going to be a fail, but it was beautiful. And like she still has that bouquet as her backdrop on her phone, like all these years later. Um, but I'm like, it was probably a fluke. Like, I'm probably terrible at this, but I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to try again. So the next year I had a bride again who had like a super small budget, but had like a wedding party. She had centerpieces. So it would be like an actual event with all the floral things. So I approached her. I'm like, hey, I want to do this. Are you willing to like take a chance on me? Like, just have to pay for the flowers. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, it was a backyard wedding again. Like, she could care less about what the flowers look like. And it turned out good again. And I had a great time doing it. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how can I do both of these things and be able to tell people, like, yes, I'm a florist. So I went back to school and took classes for floral just so I could learn, like, all of the, like, how to keep flowers alive and, like, different flower foods and how to store them and all those, like, nitty gritty details. Um, and so then I could feel confident being like, yes, I know flowers. So now I do both of them. So long story, but that's how I got here.
Wow. Well, I love you said something that was really powerful. You said, you still kind of had that layer of doubt, in these kind of early months or years, but you tried again. And I think that is something that is so underrated because I think a lot of people look at an entrepreneur and they kind of have this like rose colored glasses look at them that like maybe they don't have the doubt, they don't have the lack of confidence in their kind of line of work or in this entrepreneurial endeavor. And kind of what you're saying is like you persevered even though you had that and you kind of almost used it as some of your, I don't know, like strength or fire maybe to keep going. Would you agree with that?
I would. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of how you build a business is you just fail a lot and you find what works for you and what doesn't. Like there was a lot of things that I did when I first started. Like I wanted to do everything. Like I offered linens to my clients, which was a terrible idea. And now I know better. And so I just tried all these things to see what stuck. And now here I am. And I feel really good about what we offer our clients and kind of where we're at in the industry.
Yeah, that is so awesome. And talk to me a little bit about these people that were around you that were kind of encouraging you. Like how important was that in those kind of early months? Because you said you were just kind of saying yes and going with the flow. How important was it to have those people by you?
Super important. So my family was a big part of that. Like they encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do. Growing up, my mom always did like odd jobs and like was not really a corporate person either. And she is an artist and very creative. So I owe a lot of my talent to her. But I just saw her like working so hard and she could always figure it out, even if she didn't know what she was doing. Like people would ask her like, hey, can you do this? And she'd be like, yeah, I'm sure I can do that. Um, so I think it was more like learning from her. Like if she can just say she's going to do it and then just figure it out, I can do that too. Um, and actually, so funny story. This morning I was in the car with my son and he has a music program tonight. And was so nervous. He's like, well, what if I forget the words or if I don't know the song? And I'm like, just pretend, like, just mouth watermelon and no one's going to know that you don't know what you're doing. And so that's kind of how it is in business. Like if you just go into something with confidence and like knowing like I'm gonna do this, I can figure it out. I might fail, but I'm gonna learn from it. No one's gonna know that you have no idea what you're doing.
Wow. I think there's so much truth to that. And I feel like that's such an underrated message. Like at this point, I've thought a lot about like, well, what if I lose it all? Like, there's a lot I just kind of hate for social media today and culture and things like that. Like, what if this ends for me? And it's so interesting because I share this kind of, I don't know, stronghold that you have that's like, I still know I would figure it out. And I think that's similar probably to your upbringing. I probably had some figures in my life that just showed that. But what a beautiful just image that your mom painted for you, just being able to figure things out and just to get gritty if they need to get the job done.
Yeah, exactly. She's she was a single mom of 3 girls. So I don't know how she did it.
Wow. Wow, that is so amazing. And so you
Yeah.
started taking some of these smaller projects, you started saying yes. What did this kind of look like for you? Like, were you working out of your home? Did you kind of find a place to, like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, when I first started, I said yes to like literally everything. I'm like, sure, I'll carry all of your stuff to the wedding. I will stay there till the end. I will set up every little thing, um, which was a lot of work. And I tell people, I'm like, you kind of have to say yes to everything just to kind of get those clients and get your name out there. And eventually you'll learn your boundaries and like what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So like now, like we only do weddings, where before I was doing like baby showers, bridal showers, birthday parties, corporate things. Like I just did everything to see what my passion was. Um, and then I just fell in love with weddings. And so I knew that that's where I wanted to focus all my time and attention. Um, was with weddings. So very early on, like I said, I just said yes to everything. I worked out of my home. I actually, so when I had Charlie, I also was like, well, I need to also make money and I'm not going to just be super rich this first year. So I started watching some other people's kids out of my house. So I was like having these little kids at my house and then like late at night building out like contracts and like design boards and things. Um, so it was a lot. Just A, being a new mom, watching other people's children, and then also trying to grow this business. Um, and like people say, like, oh, if you'd go back, would you change anything? And I don't know that I would. Um, just because it got me to where I am now. Like, yes, there were hard times, but nothing that was like detrimental to my life, I guess. Um, and I'm proud of like the people I met and like the name that I've built out of being in the trenches, I guess you'll say. Um, and so I think that is the most important thing to know is when you're going to start a business, it is not beautiful. Like it is ugly and it is hard work. And there's going to be things that you're going to change along the way. Like my logo, I've changed maybe like 4 times. Like my very first logo, oh my gosh, it's terrible. It was like a mason jar, not cute. Like I make fun of myself now. Um, I think when you first start a business, you just have to tell yourself like, this is what it looks like today. It's okay to grow and adjust and change as things progress. Like I started
Hmm.
by myself. I didn't have an assistant. And then like 2 years into it, I hired my first employee. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I have an employee now that I have to worry about and I have to pay. And that was terrifying. And now we have a team of 11 and like paying them is great. Like I love our team and we're like a little family. Um, so working hard from the beginning and just knowing like you can change as you go through, I think is like the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think there's a lot of great tidbits in there. And one thing I appreciate you saying is like the delayed gratification. Like it's almost like you went into this and you're like, this is going to be a grind and I know it. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be glamorous. Like, all the entrepreneurs on Instagram show like it's supposed to be. It's actually going to be a little tough, but it's worth it. And I think that's passion ultimately. I think that's like you following your passion and being able to sacrifice, instant gratification or sacrifice your time, your energy, everything for this dream. I think that's just so well verbalized.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
definitely was a sacrifice. Even like with my kids, I missed out on a lot of things like weekends. Obviously, that's when weddings are. So like I would have them during the week, which is great. Then I leave like normal weekend things, which I think a lot of people are like, oh, but you missed out on all this stuff with your kids. But at the same time, like when I ask my kids what they want to be when they're older, they're like, I want to be like you, or like I want to be a
Hmm.
florist, I want to be a wedding planner. And so being able to like give them that drive is more important than like hanging out with them on a Saturday, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like that sounds terrible the way it came out, but I want them to have drive and like have a vision and want to do something for themselves instead of just be like, oh, I want to like get rich quick or I want to, I don't know, be lazy. I just feel like having that drive is so much more important. So yes, I missed out on things, but I also want my kids to want to work hard and like be proud of something
Yep.
they produce.
I mean, there's just so much, I think, gold nuggets in that, especially. I think we live in a culture today that's scared to pursue what actually drives them and what they're passionate about. And I think a lot of people take the safe road of just getting in a job that's close to them or easily accessible, something that's going to be secure. And what I really love about this episode already is like we're showing we go forward even when we have the doubt, even when we have the anxiety, even when we don't have time to go forward, we still do. And we just go forward despite it because of that passion and of that dream. And I just love, gosh, there's just so much I love about what you just said. And I also really appreciate you being open and saying, that those early years you were watching other people's, you were just doing everything you could to get by and to provide space for you to still chase this dream. I think that's just so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's continue on. So you build this business. Tell me a little bit about how you've been able to build this brand online and kind of what did that look like as you think about your social media?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, to be honest with you, I joke that I'm like terrible at social media because I don't have like a plan or um, any kind of campaign for social media. It's kind of like, oh, I feel like posting today, which is terrible. Like, I know that's probably not how you should do social media. Um, but part of me is like, I want my feed to feel like me, and I don't want it to be like curated captions. I just want it to be whatever I'm feeling in that day. And so, like, I've tried hiring people actually to run my social media, and I just hate it every time because, like, what they say is not my words and it doesn't sound like me. Um, and so I feel like our brand on social media really needs to reflect who we are as people and like our company and who I am and like the experience that they'll have. Um, so all that to say, like, I don't really have a good social media presence. Our business has grown because of word of mouth, and so I feel like our social media is that same way. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
do someone's wedding, and then we do their friend's wedding, and then we do their bridesmaid's wedding. So it's kind of like this spider web of reaching people naturally, um, and then just producing like really exciting things, like really cool events and like different events. So like for me, especially when we're like working with a design client or an upgraded client, is I tell them like focus on like one or two things and invest in that instead of doing all these like little things that don't really matter. Pick one or two big things, and that is what people will talk about. So, like, guest experience is so important, whether it be like interactive food service or something fun that they can do. That's what they'll talk about more than like, oh, they had this super cute guest book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, producing really exciting events that people want to talk about on the internet and share. Which again, with us doing flowers, it helps us reach, I think, double the amount of people because we do both things. And so if they're looking for a planner, they find us. If they're looking for a florist, they find us. And by doing flowers, we have a lot more content to put out there because it's not just like, oh, here's a pretty table. Like, here's a table, here's the flowers, here's an arch, here's an installation. Um, so I feel like that just naturally provides us more things to put out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think that's even a good business lesson. Like hone in on only a few things, right? Like similar in wedding planning, similar in all that good stuff, event planning, hone in a few good things. And if it's social media, great. If it's your email list, great. If whatever it is, just like find a couple things and just do them really well. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get better. That's on my 2025 list is get better at posting, which I will say the first 2 weeks of January, I was like on it, posting things on our social media.
Yeah. Well, I think social media can be really tough to, especially if you have a distinguished tone and voice like you're talking about. I think a lot of agencies come in and they just kind of post and do what they think. And I think that's the number one problem, right, with agencies and just marketing agencies in general, is they're doing what they think is right versus like matching and enhancing what is already being done. You know what I mean? And I think I can see how a lot of problems and challenges arise out of that and how that would make one feel like the content that's going out is like not authentic to them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Well, I
I
think
will
it,
like, I don't want to like dis, what's the word? Discount like content creators and like social media managers. I think they are great. it just wasn't a good fit for me personally.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think you bring up something that's really important though, because, all the time we hear things like that, and us being in the digital marketing sphere, whether it's web, whether it's social, whatever it is, all the time do I hear just like these horror stories and things like this, where it's like, it's not fun for anybody, either sides, to go through that. But I appreciate you being honest and saying, you've had to bring that, right? You brought it in house and now you're doing it. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Yeah, and clearly something is working, right? Because you continue to grow. You have almost 6,000 followers. Like, I think what's really special too about what you do is you really are good at bringing people on the journey and kind of showing people a different angle of a wedding or an event that most people wouldn't see. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a good way
Yeah.
to put it.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times, we're the guests or we're attending the event, whatever it is. We're on a different side, essentially. Where I think what's really cool about what you're doing is you're kind of showing people, okay, here's kind of what we did. Here's kind of our creativity put in action. And here's kind of what it looked like. I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so looking kind of at your business, you didn't really, I guess, expect to go into weddings per se, but it sounds like you've really fallen kind of in love with that niche. And so talk to me a little bit about that. What do you love about kind of helping put on a wedding, helping doing the floral, the events, all that kind of good stuff?
Ooh, I feel like I could talk forever on that topic. There's so many things I love about weddings. I love like the creative side. I always tell like a potential client because they'll ask like, "Oh, like do you do floral and planning? How does that work? Do you
Mm-hmm.
like doing one or the other?" And I tell them like I feel like I have to do both to do my job well because like planning is very logistics, like timeline, floor plan, vendor communication, where flowers are beautiful and fun and design, and a lot of people think they don't exist together, but they really do because like when we're putting together a timeline and say there's a room flip, well, I need to know like is this arch going to be taken apart and used somewhere else, or is it going to be moved to a different location, so we can account for the time needed to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So like there are weddings where we're just doing planning, and I feel kind of lost, to be honest with you, because I'm like, well, I have no idea what this wedding is going to look like. Like I know what the day will, how it will run, but as far as like tables, no clue what's happening on the tables. I don't know what the caterer is going to need or how much space they're going to have because I don't know what the flowers are going to look like. Um, so yes, it is possible to do both businesses separately. I'm not saying that you can't. I just feel like personally, for me, it helps me do my job better when I know both sides of it. Um, so that like the upfront planning is so fun. Like getting to dream up ideas with our clients is great. But I just love the whole day, which is such a corny response, but it's true. Like just seeing all of the hard work coming together on the wedding day, seeing our design decks come to life. So like this last Saturday, we had a wedding, and she was a design client, and we've been working so close with them for months, and then to finally see the end result in real time is just so exciting. Like I remember walking through the space just so giddy because I'm like, oh, I just love it so much. It looks so great. Just choosing all day because, like again, like I said, like it just came to life and it looked way better than how I had imagined it to look. So that is so fun, and then just being able to be like a calming presence for our clients because the wedding day is so stressful. Like there's so much that goes into it, so many emotions, a lot of family drama and opinions that come throughout the wedding planning process. And it's all like rolled up and then kind of comes out on the wedding day. Like all these emotions just like flood your body. Um, and so for us, like it's so important to show up and be like that calm or be the hype person for our clients. So I tell our clients like reach out with questions at any time. Like I want to get to know you. I want to see like what your vibe is, what you're gonna need on the day of. And so for me, I feel like it's really easy to read like, okay, this client is gonna need me to be like her cheerleader. Like she needs someone to like get her up and get going. Where I have a lot of clients who are like, I just need you to come in and kind of like take over. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want everyone to talk to you only. So being able to read your client, I think, is so important to see what their needs are and then anticipating any needs that are going to happen. So like if I'm in a meeting with a client and they're talking about like, okay, like I love my mom, but she's so much, I don't want to be by her on my wedding day. Like those are things that stick with you. And then on the wedding day, like I'm going to give mom tasks to do so that she's not in the bridal suite with the bride. Like just knowing these things ahead of time and being able to like remember those things is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I will say, not to like to my own horn because I hate that, But that is a lot of the feedback that we get is like, you were just so calm on the wedding day. And there are a lot of times where a lot of vendors are not that way. Like they're so stressed and like, anxious. And I have to tell them like, just breathe. It's okay. We're going to get through the day. Um,
Mhm.
so I've had great feedback on it, but I've also had some people say like, oh, I just didn't feel like you cared about my wedding because you were too calm, which I can see how that could be a bad thing. But for me, like, I just know the wedding is at the end of the day, it's going to be fine. Like
Mhm.
things will happen. Things aren't going to go according to plan. And that's okay. Like, as long as you guys are married and like the venue didn't burn down at the end of the day, like, it's going to be fine. These are all like fun stories that you can tell later on. Um, and so I will say, like, social media is great. Pinterest is great. All those things are great. As long as you know, like, there are things that are going to go wrong. It's just part of it. Like, it's a big event. You can't change the weather. You can't predict how people are going to act on the day of. Like, you don't know if your flower girl is going to cry or if she's going to run down the aisle. You just don't know. There's a lot of things you can't control on the wedding day. Um, so you can hope that it's going to be beautiful and look great. But as long as you are like have a sense of humor, I guess is the way to put it, that things will go wrong and that's okay. I think that's how you need to go into a wedding day is these are the things that we are going to do. We are going to do our job. We're going to do it well. We're going to manage
Mhm.
everything. There might be hiccups along the way, but that's okay. Like at the end of the day, it's gonna be fun.
100%. And, I got married a couple months ago.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So I'm fresh out of this season and I can just like completely vouch for what you're saying. You're talking about florals and everything. And this was, I got engaged during the height, I'd say, of kind of the business scaling. And so it was just a lot of pressure. And so what I found was, as I'm going through this, as I'm planning this wedding, I had so much decision fatigue, like
Yes.
looking back so much. And it's like, being in planning a wedding for the first time, you underestimate how many little decisions you need to make almost on a daily basis for months.
Yep.
And I just remember like looking back, I'm like, I was just so mentally exhausted from work and just it was just so much. But one memory that I have is when I actually picked up my florals. We use Hudson Floral over in Wisconsin. And I remember I showed up and they were like, "Oh, okay, so like show us your Pinterest board." And I'm looking at these ladies like, I have zero. I have nothing planned. I'm like, you have no idea. I'm like, what do you mean Pinterest board? They're like, well, every girl has a Pinterest board. Where's your Pinterest board? I'm like, oh, oh Lord, like here we go. I'm like, well, I don't have that. They're like, oh, okay, like what's your color scheme? I'm like, don't know. I'm like, what do you recommend? Like, I literally was like so burnt out that I'm sitting here. These ladies are looking at me like, oh, good Lord. And, anyways, we get through it. And I just told them, I'm like, look, you do whatever you think is best for florals. I like it's gonna be an August wedding where it's gonna be I want something bright. I like yellows, oranges, whatever. I'm like, I don't know any flowers that I want. I don't know anything. Like please just like do what you think. And I have to say, they did such an amazing job. And looking back, just hearing you and just like hearing you speak, I'm like, I don't know how they pulled that off, but they are literally God's hands for being able to like see something like that and execute. And I'm sure that you've dealt with a lot of people similar or in similar positions. So how do you kind of navigate all this? Like you talk about family drama, you talk about day of events and things not going according to plan. What's kind of your philosophy? Like how do you kind of navigate all of this?
Okay, so before I answer that, I just want to say
Yeah.
that you are actually a dream client when it comes to flowers.
Oh,
Like
oh, that's good.
someone who's like, I just trust you. Like, I love your work. I know you're gonna do a great job. We can figure out the rest. Because there are
Yeah.
times where people are like, I have this exact vision that I want, but the flowers they want are out of season, and so that
Oh,
breaks your heart. So that is a dream client. And
oh
August
my
is the best
gosh.
time to get married because the flowers are perfect in August. You can get
Oh, that's a good note.
so great job.
Yeah, thank you. I actually did that with like all of our vendors because I was so burnt out. I'm like, just do whatever you think is best. I'm like, I'll show up. You just tell me like everything. But anyways, continue.
Okay, so I would say you kind of mentioned it at the beginning of this, like introducing me over planning and then just going with the flow. Like we are gonna make all these plans and then we're just gonna do what the day brings us. And so like COVID was a really we made lots of plans during COVID. Like I had a bride that got married, um, and we had I think like six different plans, like plan A through F on what the day could bring, depending on like
Wow.
how many people we could invite. Um, and that's actually like still a running joke with that client to this day.
Oh, jeez.
Um, but that is kind of what you have to do. Like we have to plan for all of these things that could go wrong so that on the day of, we know what we're going to do in case like it rains. Like always have a
Hmm.
rain plan. Always, always, always. Like if you are planning on getting married outside, before you book a venue, make sure you know what plan B is. And if you don't like plan B, don't get married there because the chances of you getting married inside are very high. Um, so starting from the beginning, making sure like when you pick your venue, like plan B. We do a lot of upfront planning with our clients. Like I said, we're very open on communication. Like we don't limit how many times they can send us questions. We want to help them through the planning process. Yes, like the day of is most important, but a lot of the big decisions are made throughout the planning process. And so like I'll have calls with potential clients and they'll say like, yeah, we talked to a planner and she said we can't talk to her until 30 days before. And that is just like
Mm.
such a disservice to them because you're the professional. They need to have guidance so that when it gets to the wedding day, everything is going to run smoothly because you planned with
Hmm.
them ahead of time and you're not trying to troubleshoot 30 days before all these things that they did wrong. Um, so I would say that's something that we're very good at is like communicating with our clients, being a resource from the beginning, and like being their friend. Like that's more important to me. Like I'm like looking at this card on my desk from a client that got married 2 years ago. Like I still get Christmas cards of like their growing families, and that is more important to me than like a beautiful fancy wedding. Like I just want to have these relationships with them. Um, so I would say like getting to know them and like being a friend throughout the planning is the most important thing that we can do for our clients. And I think being a mom helps me too. Like my kids are crazy. I have 3 kids and they are always like keeping me on my toes. And I learn a lot from them. I learn a lot of patience from them. And so being able to be that, not a mom, but kind of a mom on the day of, like someone that's going to figure it out because that's what moms do. They just
Hmm.
figure everything out and do everything for everyone. Um, so I think I just wear that hat like in my personal life and then in my business life too. And I will say like having a good team. I could not do any of this without my team. Like they are the backbone of everything that I do. If it was just me, it would fail miserably. So finding like the right people that are going to build your brand with you and be excited for you and want to contribute to this dream. Like I say that all the time. Like this is my dream that they are a part of and they're choosing to show up for me, and I couldn't thank them enough for that because they do a lot of the hard work too. Like I've got girls that are here during the week doing a lot of like client calls and with our inventory. So we have inventory that our clients can use. So it's cleaning inventory, packing inventory, making sure the right stuff is going to the right wedding, getting all the right documentation for our planners for the day of. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And I maybe do like a third of the business and they do a lot of it too. So I definitely have the best team to make sure that this is a well-oiled machine.
Hmm. I think that's so awesome. And if I were to go back, I would honestly hire a wedding planner. I didn't. And I regret it looking back after just so many different scenarios. Like when we first started planning, we were going to get married on some family land that we have. And then we come to understand, okay, we have to get all these permits, right? And we're like telling people, oh, we're going to get married at this man. And there's just so many things that we had to understand and navigate. Whereas if we had someone like you who's done this dozens and dozens of times to help us, like I think there's definitely something to be said for that. And so I do want to say, like, maybe there's someone listening, and I was advised not to have a planner by many family members, yeah, and etc. And looking back, I do definitely recommend that for anybody who maybe has similar personality to me, or just anybody that is looking for kind of that shepherd, because that's exactly what I feel like your role is to really guide and to provide an easy route so that you can enjoy the season. And I just think that's just such a beautiful role to play in someone's just core memory that they have in their life. And so I kind of want to dig into that a little bit. You kind of have this common thread where you say, everything's going to be fine, whether you're starting a business, whether you're on a wedding day, whatever it may be. And I just want to dig into this. Like, where do you think this comes from? Is this something spiritual to you? What's your kind of deeper why for what you do?
Oh, that is a deep question. Um, I think it could be a lot of things. Like again, like going back to my mom, like things just always worked out for her, and she was so positive all the time. Just like, yep, we're gonna get through it. It's gonna work. It's not. It's gonna be okay. Like I don't remember her ever being like, oh, I can't do this, or like
Hmm.
this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
And In a lot of my relationships, I feel like I am that person. Like, I'm like, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna figure it out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
coffee shop. Like, I didn't go to school for coffee. I like drinking coffee, but that was like what I knew of it. But I'm like, we're gonna start a coffee shop and we're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be great. And I just don't ever like let my mind think of what could go wrong. I think,
Mm-hmm.
because that's kind of when that doubt comes in, and then you talk yourself out of it, and then the next thing you know, you're not doing that dream of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like I've always had that like entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
mindset. Like, I just want to start all these things and see what I like doing. Um, so I can't say like, oh, this is for sure what it came from, but I would say I would think my mom is like a big role model in that way. Like, she just did all these things and it worked out. And like, she prayed a lot all the time. She prayed still to this day. Like, I'll just walk in the kitchen, she'll be praying. um,
That's awesome.
so I think that's part of it too. Just like, I pray a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like that's a good answer, but there are a lot of people who are so negative, and before they've given themselves a chance to see how things will go, they've already talked themselves out of it because they've gone through all of the things that could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of starting like, okay, here's all the things that could go right, and then we'll just troubleshoot along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yes, you need to have like a balance in that. Like, if I just was off like starting all these businesses without someone to ground me, I think that could be troublesome. Um, but I also feel like you need a leader who is willing to do whatever and see how it goes.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great answer. I love how you bring up your mom and the prayer, everything. I think it all is intertwined at the end of the day as to where your confidence comes from. And so I love that. I was just really curious because, I feel like I'm very similar to you, where it's like, oh, we'll just figure it out. I'm not worried. We'll pick up the pieces as we go, per se. And I just, I think about kind of where that came from. I also had a mom who was entrepreneurial. I think she shared kind of similar systems and beliefs maybe to your mom, so it makes a lot of sense. But I also, I go back to that point that you made of like skipping, things on Saturday for your kids and etc. And I had this conversation with with one of my clients recently because she came to me a little bit out of joint, per se. She was facing a client that was just a little troublesome. She is in kind of a financial sector. And I said to her, because she was mentioning how she just feels like she's not measuring up, like she's just not good enough for her kids, for her work, anything. And I just said to her, one of the greatest gifts that I was given was being able to see my mom be entrepreneurial and to dominate in a male dominated industry and to just pave a path. And I said, don't regret what you're doing because your little ones are watching you more than you know, and they're seeing you work hard. And that is a value that is invaluable at the end of the day. And so it was just a great conversation. And so it just kind of reminds me of what you just said about your mom
Yeah,
and how those influences really impact us in the long run.
for sure. And that's just like part of being a mom. Like, I just feel like you're gonna have mom guilt no matter what you do. Like, you could stay home with them and feel like you failed them somehow during the day. You could be working and feel like you failed them. That's just part of, like, you want to give everything 100% all the time to your kids. So there's just no way around that. I don't think. Um, so the validation comes from the people that you're raising, and so like seeing them
Mm-hmm.
want to do what I'm doing. And like last year, we celebrated our 10-year in business on the event planning side, and so we had a big party, and I brought them, and they were like the guests of honor, and they just thought it was so cool to see what I do because obviously like I don't bring them to weddings, but I got to bring them to this event, and we went all out like had dueling DJs. We had three of them
How
there.
fun.
We had aerialists. We had disco dancers, and I was the thing I was most excited for about the whole day was just them being there and being able to like bring them into this world of creativity so they know what I
Mm.
do. And then like hearing all the people talk to the kids like, "Oh, your mom is so cool." Like, that was just like the cherry on top, is like so the kids know that all this work I'm doing isn't for nothing. Like, it's to
Yeah.
provide for them and like give them some drive to want to do things like this too.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think that was really well said. And I think that's something I've also thought about. Like, we don't have kids right now, but I have thought, like, what I find really inspiring about you is you started the business after you had your little one. Is that right?
Yep.
And I think a lot of people would maybe that would stop them from pursuing their passion. And that's not to say one way is better than the other, but I just think I really admire you for continuing and to continue to find a way to make your passion work, even though you're juggling so many different things.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. So I kind of want to continue down this road and then we might pivot. But red flags to look for in a wedding planner or event planner. I want to hear your take on this because I'm sure that you've heard or had clients come back to you after they've worked with someone else or just told you things that maybe one of their friends went through. I'm just really curious. What would you say to someone who is, starting to plan a wedding and they just got engaged, whatever it may be? What would you say to them to look for as they begin interviewing different planners?
Um, so I kind of touched on this, but like not being willing to help them throughout the planning process
Yeah.
is a big one. Um, and I understand like why people would say that because we get emails all day long, so many emails, and so I know like that is time away from other things that you're having to respond to emails. Um, so I can see like from a business standpoint why they wouldn't want a full inbox. Um, but again, I feel like it helps me do my job better if I am talking to them throughout the planning process. So red flag would be finding someone who isn't willing to communicate with you throughout. Even if it's like, so like I'll tell people like I don't take phone calls whenever, but please email me anytime. Because a lot of times I'm emailing at like 2 in the morning because during wedding season we're off site, so I don't have a lot of admin time. So I always tell people like always email me. I ask them not to text me only because if it's something important, I want to remember it. And a lot of times I'm on the go. And if I see a text while I'm on a wedding,
Hmm.
I will probably forget that you sent that to me. Um,
Right.
so it's okay to have like those boundaries of like what kind of communication you prefer. Um, so that'd be a red flag. Not having a good backup plan on if something were to happen to that planner, like how would they find someone to replace them? What would that look like? Um, which is hard because like when I first started, it was just me. Um, But one thing I feel like I did well from the beginning was networking right away, like finding other like planners, other vendor friends that I could go to if I had a question or if I couldn't be there. Like, hey, could you be like my backup person? So even now, like if someone reaches out to us and we aren't available, I'll send them a list of my favorite planners who I know would do a great job for them.
Mm,
Um, so I guess that would be more of a tip to other wedding planners that are just starting out is like network, 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 find people, like get your name out
yeah.
there. Um, so back to like planner hunting, making sure that you know if it's like just a small company, what would that look like if something like medically were supposed to happen, or if like they were going to close their business, what would that look like for them? Like how would they be protected in that situation? Um, Asking like what their roles are on the day of. So like having a clear list of like what you do, what you don't do. Um, Planners that don't do anything are a big red flag for me. Um, like we get people ask all the time, like, "Oh, will you light our candles on the day of?" Of course, I'm gonna light your candles,
Yeah.
but some planners say no, and then I just don't understand. Like, what are you doing then? Like, I mean, okay, that sounded terrible. They are doing a lot of things, but candles is such like an easy task. Like that is not hard. Like you can light candles. Um, so having a clear list of what they do and what they don't do, I would say like a red flag would be someone that doesn't do a lot of things on the day of, because that's our
Hmm.
goal is making sure that everything runs smoothly and gets the job done. Um, Again, here's another one, like experience is so important, but at the same time, like there's a lot of new planners that are just starting that are great. Um, so it's like red flag, green flag. I don't know which one it is, maybe in the middle somewhere. But just asking like, what's your experience? Have there been any like things that have happened on a wedding day that you've had to fix, or like alarms that have gone off that you handled? Like, how did you handle that? Um, if they are chaotic on the phone call, it's probably going to be chaotic on the wedding day.
Hmm.
Someone that can't answer your questions, like on a consult call, if they ask you, like, okay, well, what about this vendor, or how would this work in the space? Like if they don't know how to answer questions quickly, I think that's a red flag because that's how they're going to be in the day of. Like you need someone that's going to like be quick on their feet and problem solve in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
because you are running a wedding in real time, and so you have to be like quick to decide and like find
Yeah.
a solution quickly. Um, so someone that doesn't have answers for you, or someone that doesn't want to engage in conversation with you on the call, like I like to get to know them before I like jump into any of like our services. Because yes, like they are hiring me, but I am also hiring them in return.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be a good fit. And there have been times where I've like after call I've said to them like, hey, I just don't know that we're going to be a good fit. I don't think that what we do is what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And so having to be honest, like the very first person I had to turn away, I felt so mean. Like I felt awful. But at the end of the day, like I knew that was the right choice for both of us because
Yeah.
we were not a good fit. The day of would have been a nightmare for both of us. We wouldn't have enjoyed it. So I've gotten more confident in turning away people that aren't a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are times where I know, like, hey, I'm not a good fit for you, but I know that this planner will be. Here's
Yeah.
her information. I've already checked. She's available. Like, reach out to her. You guys are going to get along really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say that would be a red flag, too, like someone that just doesn't have answers for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great list, honestly. And the only one I would add to that is, it's never a bad idea when you're looking at different vendors, whether it's photo, video, floral, whatever it is, to ask to speak to some of the clients that they've worked with to also understand like how their experience was. Because we hired a photographer, and I'd say the experience was just a little bit different than maybe what I expected. Like similar to what you're saying, like we didn't really hear from her a lot. And like, I think the day before I probably texted like, are we good to go? Or, it's just like, there wasn't a lot of communication and I didn't know any better
Yeah.
per se, but I would say one, that's where a planner comes in handy to set those expectations, right? Like you probably would have told me, okay, we need to pivot or we need to figure out something or some whatever.
Yeah.
But also, one thing I wish I would have done is just simply ask, hey, can I talk to some of your clients? Like to get a little bit better of a gauge of some of that communication and how they show up and things like that. So I think that's a great list for sure.
Yeah. And like being proactive as a vendor, like a vendor as a whole, not just us, is so important because this is your client's first time. Like you said, like you don't know what you're doing. Like
Right.
your photographer the day before is not normal. Like they should have reached out to you
Mm-hmm.
with like some sort of a timeline, especially if they knew that you didn't have a planner.
Right.
Um, we have to be the first person to reach out to them because they don't
Mm-hmm.
have like a general timeline. Like our clients will get a checklist of like when they should be doing things. Um, and like for me, like having our preferred vendor list is so important because I try to like you said, shepherd people to use our list because we know
Yeah.
people are going to do a great job. We know how they work on the day of, how they work with us. And so like being on a preferred vendor list, you have to have worked with us before you can be on that list because we're not just going to like recommend the most popular person. Um, and so like when we go into wedding day and we know that this is the vendor team that we have and it's people that we like trust and love working with, we know that the experience leading up to the day has been great for our client. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
a photographer who we work with a lot. He is fantastic. I just love him so much. And he's so proactive with his clients. Like he'll send them a timeline, but he'll also send it to us like, hey, Ashley, we're so excited to work with you for client's name. Here's a
Mm.
timeline that we put together. I know you're going to do your own, but we just wanted to let you have this ahead of time. Like that's so important for me, knowing like, okay, this is what the photographer timeline is.
Mm-hmm.
With ours, we work with him all the time, so I already know like the amount of time he needs for things. But just knowing that he's already had that like touch point with his client makes me like breathe out a little bit because he's talked to them already. Like
Mm-hmm.
the client is going to feel better knowing like, okay, they're thinking about us and not having to worry. Like you said, like I didn't know if we were on or not. Like that stresses
Yeah.
me out. Like knowing that you didn't know until the night before.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It was an interesting experience for sure. But it was actually when I finished the whole wedding and everything, I I wanted to start a wedding planning business because I actually was like, I don't want anybody to go through that stress like I did. And so I actually was in talks with someone to partner with me on this business, and it didn't go through, which is totally fine. But I think all that to say, I think what you do is so important. And maybe it's overlooked sometimes through the stress and the fury of planning a wedding. But I think what you do is just so critical. And like I said, I'm just so happy to hear about your story and kind of how you've built this business, because you're definitely just doing all things right. I feel like in terms of marketing and just growth and building a solid team and executing, it just seems like you've really got your processes and your systems in place, which is so fun to hear about. So it's been such a delight to have you on the podcast. So I thank you for being here and for sharing and for being vulnerable with us. I think a lot of people listening, this will help in so many different ways, whether it's business, whether they're planning a wedding, whatever it may be. So I just thank you for your time and for digging deep with me today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been so fun and validating to hear your comments back to me. It just fills my cup. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And so, how can people get in touch with you for your events business? And then maybe you even want to touch on the coffee shop.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Ashley Skeie Events. I'd say we're most active on Instagram as far as like our posting. Luckily, our Instagram is connected to our Facebook, so it just automatically posts over there. Um, but I love interacting with people on Instagram. But if they're looking to hire us, I'd say reach out through the website. We get a lot of DMs, so it's really hard to like filter those back over to like a lead capture. So if they're interested in working with us, go to our website. There's a lead form on there that you can fill out. And then depending on if you're looking for planning, floral, or both, it will filter you through to the right spot. Um, and then I do own a coffee shop too. So that was a COVID project of mine. When weddings weren't happening, I needed to do something because I don't sit well. Um, so I also own the Annabelle House, which is in Osseo. It's named after my grandma who passed away 5 years now. Actually, this is her 5 year passing
Mm.
anniversary. Um, so I do coffee and I do weddings. So I'd say Instagram is definitely the best way to find us. The coffee shop is Annabelle House MN. And then planning is Ashley Skeie Events. And Sky is spelled Skeie.
Love it. Well, Ashley, thanks for being here. It's been such a delight to get to know you. And thanks again for just sharing your wisdom and your insights. I think a lot of people will find this valuable.
Thank you. I appreciate that.